Han have warned against any further street protests after anti-government demonstrators clashed with the security forces overnight. Images on social media showed dozens of people gathering and tear gas being used against them. A local police chief said what he called hostile groups were provoking people into inflicting damage on the establishment. The former head of Mexico's state oil company, Emilio Lozoya, has arrived in his home country after being extradited from Spain. Mr. Lozoya fled Mexico after being accused of receiving millions of dollars in bribes from the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht. He'd previously denied the allegations against him. The Mexican president said his extradition would mark a significant step towards defeating corruption in the country. BBC News.
明天的希望无限，听见台北的人情味，全世界活力在线，全都在台北 Radio。
公民总主笔，
方恩格时间。
当家抢先报，你不能不知道。
邱琬琳自创的同名品牌 Chiu 是一个时尚艺术珠宝饰品品牌，具有迷人的融合风格。马丹娜和女神卡卡的名人和造型师都曾经佩戴过她的作品。邱琬琳的作品曾经被 Vogue 意大利版、英国 ID 杂志和纽约时报来报道，并且在纽约华尔道夫酒店和巴黎罗浮宫来展出。意大利 Vogue 认为 Chiu 是不可错过的品牌，让我们一起来了解启发邱琬琳的寓哲学背后的秘密。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
谁当家？
当家？我当家？你当家？我当家？
我当家？
到底谁当家？你来当家。Welcome to the Residence Messenger program on Taipei Broadcasting Station with your host, Ross Darrell Feingold. Today, our guest is jewelry designer Jade Chiu. Jade,
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And
happy to be here.
We're so happy to have a jewelry designer who could help shed some insight onto the world of design and your career as a designer. Not just in Taiwan, but around the world. You've lived in Shanghai and in the United States in addition to Taiwan. But before we get into learning more about your jewelry designs, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where in Taiwan did you grow up?
Actually, my dad, he likes to moving around. So we lived in Pingdong, Kaohsiung, and Hualien, and finally in Taipei. So I was growing up in a city called Yonghe, Taipei Xian.
And when you were growing up, what did you want to be? Did you want to be a jewelry designer? You knew from a young age that this was something you were interested in?
I always know I wanted to be a designer. So when the first time I heard the name 设计师, I just felt like I'm so connected to this world. It seems like I already knew.
It was just arranged by
like,
God that
my past life must be a designer
you were
or something.
a designer in your past life. It's possible, but maybe you weren't a jewelry designer in your past life. You were a clothing designer.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
Now you had a chance to be a jewelry designer. But when you were a child, did you focus on artistic stuff in school or after school? Did you do some activities that would help you with your later career as a designer when you were a child?
No, not at all. Like in Taiwan, the education system is like you can't really go for what you like to do unless your grade reaches to a certain level. You get to pick the majors. Mm-hmm. So it's a pity.
Yeah. So when you were a child, your teacher said, "Don't think about artistic stuff. You should focus on math and science." Was it like that?
I didn't go for that. Like I didn't go for that area of the creative parts. But then I'm always doing good in the school, like singing class, dancing class, arts class. There's nothing related to what we're supposed to learn.
Well, it all turned out okay. So the important thing here is that people should always pursue what they have a passion for, correct?
For sure.
For sure. Okay, then you went abroad. You spent some time studying in the United States. Where did you study?
So the first city, I was in Santa Barbara. I picked that city because I wanted to be a place that was nobody speak Mandarin. Because that's the point, when you go to another country, you want to immerse yourself to that environment. So you can pick up, you can think and talk and dream in that language.
And Santa Barbara is also a very beautiful place to live, isn't it?
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's famous in America for a TV show from the 1980s called Santa Barbara.
Oh, I only know Beverly Hills. Perhaps we found it different.
So what did you study when you were in the United States?
Ironically, I didn't go for fashion at the beginning. I was trying to avoid it. So the first major I had was graphic design.
And is that not helpful at all for designing jewelry?
I don't know why my teacher hates me.
Hard to imagine because you're such a nice person, Jade.
Thank you. Whatever I do, graphic design is the grid system. And I'm more into asymmetrical, a natural, fluid kind of line. So my teacher will never satisfy of what I was doing. I have many ideas though.
So after studying graphic design, how did you finally make that transition to what your fate would be, jewelry?
Not until I graduated. So I was in Silicon Valley and doing my job as a graphic designer.
So you actually went into the industry. You went into you used your graphic design skills for a while.
Yeah.
But you still had that dream about jewelry.
Actually, fashion is most like my dream because jewelry or art or the discipline is a way that I show my artistic, so it can be anything. It can be fashion, accessory, jewelry, any kind of forms.
But how did you make that transition from graphic design to jewelry?
So there's a process. So then I went, because I saw this show on TV, so Project Runway.
Project Runway, yeah.
And it really inspired me. It's all the time I try to run away from my dream. And when I was in Silicon Valley and doing my graphic design job.
Sitting at a desk, working long hours.
And life is good. It's like retirement. I got everything. And I saw that show. I feel like I just need to get the one-way tickets to get there. Because everybody in my office, they will tell me, because I like to dress up myself. I like to wear a little hat or gloves to the class, to work. And they were like, Jay, you don't look like you belong here. Jay, you should be a fashion designer. So that's when I realized, why don't I try it? I don't want it to be regrets when I'm 60 years old.
Which is still a long time away because Jade is very, very young. If only the audience on the radio could see this. So when you made this decision to pursue your dream, how did you actually get into the industry, though? You said, okay, I don't want to do graphic design anymore. I really want to pursue my passion. Did you go knocking on the door of jewelry designers and say, hire me?
So the second stage now goes. I remember 2008 was a big recession. If you want to think about every 10 years is a cycle, I go by 12 years because all my design is about Chinese culture. So in Chinese zodiac year, there's a 12 years.
A 12-year cycle.
So now it's 2020, the mouse of the year mouse. And the last cycle was the 2008, which is also a recession.
Recession, yeah, big global recession.
At that time, I was working with an accessory company. I was a handbag designer. And the entire company laid off 200 people over the weekend. And I was one of them. But I have to thank for that experiences. Because then I stayed home, January, very cold winter in New York. But I was able to draw everything like I was dreaming about, and all this idea is just emerging so much, and I create my own brand by September, which is my birthday.
Oh, coming up. So you went from graphic design to handbag design to accessories.
And then jewelry.
And then jewelry. What were the first pieces that you designed?
Actually, it's the one you're wearing.
Okay, so people listening on the radio cannot see, but I'm actually wearing women's jewelry that Jade
No,
has designed.
actually, it's from my dad.
Really?
I actually borrowed this from him today. I said, Dad, I'm going to the show. Can I borrow your necklace? That's his favorite.
Okay, so what is it?
So if you can see, it's a frame of actually 12 small icons, and it symbolizes zodiac, but it's more in a pop surrealistic way. It's not like what you think about the mouse or the ox should look like. It's just very icon.
So this was one of your first designs.
Yeah.
And what was the reaction when you showed it to potential manufacturing partners, potential buyers?
No.
What did people say?
You never show to the manufacturer because it's so dangerous. Like
They'll steal your idea.
Especially now, in certain countries.
We won't mention any names.
Yeah. So first, let's say like I made these pieces, and it was on my Facebook, and the next day, accessory editor just pick it up, and then they write about it. So I guess my design has the controversial part people like to talk about, and that really brings me a lot of opportunities too.
So using social media or getting the trade press, the jewelry industry, magazines, writers to write about your jewelry, that was a good way for you to bring in customers.
Part of it is like that, but then there's a lot of promotion you have to do, especially in New York. It's really a place to be. Like the stylist will find you in a certain store, so you have to try your best to be in that stores.
And at some point, you came up with a concept, since your name is Jade, of the Jadosophy, the Jadosophy, right?
Jade philosophy, Jadosophy.
Jadosophy.
Yeah.
What is the Jadosophy?
So, Jadosophy is an idea because I'm in the business for 10 years now, and I realized like your life is not only about your work. There's your health, the food that you eat, if you exercise, and there's also relationship, your family, your friends, and your love relationship. And there's a career and finance. You sort of have to balance them all. You can't just pursue one thing and forget about the other ones. And at the end, you will figure like, oh, something is missing in my life. I don't feel I'm happy.
Is the thing that's missing jewelry? Everyone should have jewelry, right?
Yeah. So that's the idea. Like,
but is this Jadosophy? Is that from your perspective as the designer, or is it something that you want the buyers of your jewelry, the people who wear your jewelry, to keep in mind?
Yeah. I actually want everybody who wears my jewelry feel that. It's not only one part of the life you assist to it. You have to make the full balanced happiness.
Now, this concept, when you explain it to people and why it's important for your designs and who should wear your jewelry, do people in New York or the United States understand it? Do people in Taiwan understand it? Do people in China understand it? Or is it different from marketplace to marketplace?
Yeah, actually this idea started just last year when I was in China, and supposedly I have to work with the fine jewelry industry, and then put me in the mountain, like in the south for sun. And I was waiting because there's nothing you can do without a contract. So I was waiting, and every day I wake up early. I feel so spiritual. Like I have all these design ideas to my dream every day. And so I started this concept because it's like a self-therapeutic.
And then you started to talk about it with your customers?
I started to building in my brand identity. I think that's something bigger. it's not just look good. It has to be from the bottom of your heart. You feel like content. Yeah.
Speaking of looking good, your jewelry has been worn by Madonna and Lady Gaga. How did that happen?
Yeah, so actually I made the stylus from the opening event, and also my jewelry was exhibited at this shop called Patricia Phil. Do you know her?
Well, why don't you explain?
She's like the most famous stylist in the world. You know, Sex and the City, right? She's a stylist from the show. Also, Devil Wears Prada. She won the Oscar, Best Costume Designer. So I have my collection presented in her store. So a lot of stylists go there to pick up stuff. And also I was belong to this website called Nagel. So they pick top 100 designers in the district for events. So the stylists will go there, just look for up-and-coming designers. So actually not just me, all my other 99 designers, most of them got picked by Lady Gaga.
But how did you react to that news when you got that phone call or the email that said, Jade, guess what? I have good news. Lady Gaga or Madonna are going to wear your jewelry. How did that feel for you?
Of course, it's exciting. Like, oh my God, how would you think about a little girl from Taiwan will ever connecting to this big name like my idol?
Which one's your idol, Madonna or Lady Gaga?
When I was kids, I loved Madonna and then Gaga. Yeah.
And now they're wearing your jewelry. That's that's really extraordinary. Like
dream
you said,
come true.
Yeah, like a dream come true. And Vogue, or the Italian edition of Vogue, has written about you as well, and they said you're one of the most unmissable jewelry brands. That's quite an honor.
Thank you. So actually, it's from the Top 100 Designer events. So we had it the first year on the 14th, and the next year is the 15th. They pick only 50 designers from the previous events. So all the designer they pick from 4,000 designers. They pick 100 designers. So the second year they pick 50 from 100, and they told us like Vogue Italia stylists and editors gonna come to our events to pick 10 designers to be featured on that press. And I was praying like, please Grandpa, please let me be on the list. And I was very lucky they picked me as one of the brand. And the other Ofero magazine, they picked me the following year, just one jewelry designer from the event to feature with other international well-known brand, which is also my idea. Like Delphina Delatres, she's a daughter of Fendi, and Lydia Couture, she's a French, most famous jewelry designer. It's such an honor.
And after you receive these recognitions, what does it do for you as a designer and as a business person? Does the phone start ringing nonstop? You get more people want to commission you for work? I mean, how does it change who you are within the industry?
It's nothing like that. It takes a lot of work. It's not only the product you have, the price you have, you also have to work on the full cycle of the production and then promotion, manufacture, customer service, delivery, all have to come together to make your brand stronger.
So what happens after you do all that? You've gotten the recognition. Where do you take the business though? Do you want to be in stores? Do you want to be online?
Yeah, I'm in the stores and online already. But what happened was the last, I guess, 2 years was a big recession in fashion. So I was moving kind of back to Asia because I got more opportunities here than in the US and in Europe, because I still go to do the trade show in Paris, but there's nobody there.
And that was before the virus situation occurred.
Yes, even before that, fashion has, come to a point that, big earthquake.
But what about your time in China? Tell us a little bit about the marketplace there, and what do the consumers, the jewelry buyers, how are they different than other places? What do they want to buy? What do they like?
I can't complain. Chinese is like a crazy with buying. Yeah.
So that's good for you, right?
So about 2-3 years ago, they buy everything. But then years later, they realized that's not the way to do it. They got overage of the inventory, and then business is getting declined. This is happening.
But in China, are they still they're eager to buy from Taiwan designers? Is that sort of a brand by itself? Do they like designers who come from Taiwan? Do they think Taiwan people are more stylish?
The emerging designer is very special category. It's like you start a concept and then you build up your brand. So they respect that actually. And it's not like it's competitive. Like you have to compete with the whole Chinese market. And they like people from Taiwan, surprisingly, with U.S. background and Taiwan. I can't complain. I've been lucky.
Mm-hmm. And where is the main location for the jewelry market in China? Is it Beijing? Is it Shanghai?
Shanghai is most modern and fashionable capital.
Are you saying the people in Beijing are not fashionable?
It's more cultural. Business, if you want to put like a cosmopolitan with modern, or like a cultural arts like Chiu with more art experiment going on. There's a different style and different bias. You can feel it. Yeah.
But you were going to say Beijing is more the cultural capital.
I think so. I feel like people talk more like It's more educated when they talk. It's always like a poetic. Yeah, but in Shanghai, they've probably seen a lot of foreigner and Taiwanese already. The taxi driver will like, I don't know why they're always mad at me.
Oh, maybe because you're from Taiwan.
They're just mad at everyone. Yeah, so like New York.
But what about the buying habits of Chinese buyers versus Taiwan buyers? Are they buying for investment because they think it's going to appreciate in value? Or are they buying just because it looks nice? Or are they buying it but just because their friends have the same thing? How do the buyers' habits differ?
Definitely different markets, but
Taiwanese are so fashionable as well.
Yes. You're talking about fine jewelry markets. People want to buy stone and gold, silver to have the value, resale value. There's a customer like that, both in Taiwan and in China. But it's like a different style they look for, but with more emergent kind of, like my kind of style. People are trying to get used to it. And now, actually, in China, they've seen everything commercial. They start to appreciate my work more.
So they know your work is not mass produced. It's more custom made.
By hand.
All by hand.
All by my.
All by your own little fingers. But fortunately, you're back here in Taiwan. What about the virus situation? What has that done for jewelry, and especially the kind of jewelry that you make? Is it difficult to do business because you can't see customers now?
Actually, I think like nobody is buying anything now except mask, toilet paper. Yeah. So actually, we have to, as a designer, we have to come out what we're gonna do to design people wants. So stuff like when you wear a mask, you might feel stretchy on the ear. So there's a jewelry you can wear in the bag to look good, look better,
Jewelry.
You want to be
jewelry
different.
to go along with your face mask.
In the bag.
Yeah.
So I have a bag.
Well, we're gonna take a short break, but when we come back, we'll talk some more about the jewelry business in Taiwan and designing jewelry and how to make jewelry with our special guest, designer Jade Chiu. You're listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station.
如果你走向我，你会发现我漂亮的容颜。如果你发现我，你会爱上我，因为我很喜欢下雨的天。如果你走向我，你会和我一起淋雨，在雨中拥吻。假如你发现我，一定要拦住我，因为我怕我以为我没戏。假如你走向我，你会明白，原来外表只是个玩笑。假如你发现我，你会很难受，因为我很固执又很坏蛋。如果你走向我，你会感动，就像星星总为月亮闪烁。发现我，你会爱上我，因为我有温暖的臂窝。如果你走向我，你会发现我漂亮的容颜。假如你发现我，你会爱上我，因为我很喜欢下雨的天。如果你走向我，你会和我一起淋雨，在雨中拥吻。我怕我以为我没戏。假如你走向我，你会明白，原来外表只是个玩笑。如果你发现我，你会很难受，因为我很固执又很坏蛋。如果你走向我，你会感动，就像星星总为月亮闪烁。
收听台北广播电台 FM 93.1 AM 1134，让你的心情嗨起来。大家好，我是陈09。
109年公费留学考试网络报名即将开始哦，从7月24号开始到8月7号，欢迎有意出国攻读博士、硕士学位的优秀青年踊跃报名。
10月11号笔试，12月5号到6号面试。
每年学费3万美元，依学群奖助3到4年，生活费依留学城市别补助。
详情请上网搜寻109年公费留学考试简章。以上广告由教育部提供。
宝贝呀，快快起床啦！快去刷牙，快吃早餐喽！快穿鞋子，快点，我们要出门喽！
妈妈，快点，要迟到了呢！
宝贝呀，什么都可以快，但是开车是绝对快不得的。
对啊，开车不超速，安全又愉快哦。
全体就节能作战位置，动作！戴上口罩，拿起抹布， 让我们一起还给家电一个清白。
只要谨记3口诀，夏天超省钱：1看2清3放心。定期查看家电使用状况与清洁保养，在家享受高品质。
快跟乌漆嘛黑的家电说拜拜，省电达人就是你。
更多省电秘诀，上网搜寻节约能源园区网站。以上为经济部能源局广告。
台北的声音，拥有颗热情的心，耳边回荡的旋律，是我们的指引。有爱与梦想的电台，台北广播 FM 930。
头家来call in。
Welcome back to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station with your host Ross Darrell Feingold and our guest today, Jade Chiu, jewelry designer and the founder of the Jadeolosophy, which is her philosophy to bring together different kinds of things about life and being spiritual and art, and it influences
relationships.
Oh, yeah, we shouldn't forget that.
Yeah.
And influences your designs and why people should wear your beautiful jewelry, including the necklace that I'm wearing today. For the show, I'll have to give it back afterwards. Jade, tell us a bit about the materials that you use in your jewelry.
So from silver and gold depends what the customer demands. Of course, you have to, pay the deposit first if you want to order gold.
But what do you prefer working with?
Silver will be more easier to work with. But I do work with a lot of gemstone, like lucidated quartz, pearl, and natural quartz. And pearl.
But from your perspective as both the designer and the jewelry maker, which materials do you actually prefer? And which could you express yourself with more as a designer?
I think silver gold, because I don't want to get limited by just the material. Actually, because from the fashion background, I like to mix match with different possibility. Yeah.
And take us through the process, from design to actually delivering something to a customer. Tell us about the steps, and including when you get into that workshop and you actually got to form.
You want to know my secrets?
Well, you're on the radio, so keep that in mind. But yes, tell us the secrets, Jade.
So it comes from the melting wax process. If you think about 3D pen, 3D pen, you can create a positive wax to make a shape out of it. And melting wax process is you carve it, you shape it, depends on the temperature and the speeds, how you want it. When I was making it, I almost feel like the object is talking to me. They want it to come out, it's sort of really playful. They want to have this fluid kind of movements. So to me, it's a very natural thing when I'm carving wax. But these pieces are actually made out of soft wax. I shape it with my fingers, so you can actually see my fingerprints if you can see.
Well, that would make it a very special piece. You even get Jade's fingerprints on the jewelry.
Yeah.
But besides your fingers, what are some of the tools or other types of equipment that you need to use when you're making jewelry?
So this is called buffering. So you actually have to work with a lot, like a torch with fire. I didn't like it because when you have to sew, cutting, it's really tiring just to repeat it. So I kind of just do all the design work, and I have the studio help me to do a post-production, a clean and polish and plating color, and to put all the stones on it. Also assembling, because then it goes with the chain, assembling parts. Like this.
And is this like getting if I go get a custom suit made as a guy, I go to a tailor and get a suit, you have to go in for the first fitting and you got to come back again and do a second fitting. What about some of your custom jewelry? Does the customer need to try it on a few times?
Yes, of course. But then I try to make my ring like a stackable. So essentially you can have 2 different sizes. Because I have a very small finger. So I'm trying to, if one ring can fit them all. So I use that as a trick. But with the custom jewelry, you have to really make them feel comfy to wear it.
So somebody actually needs to try on earrings or other jewelry before you say it's finished, it's ready.
So you can try this on. Like this is a ear cuff.
An ear
cuff. Dragon. So now it actually fits you perfectly. But if somebody has a smaller or bigger, you can adjust them so they're slightly bendable.
Some people might not be familiar with ear cuffs. A lot of people know earrings, but are ear cuffs a more recent thing that are more popular?
For us, it came out like a long time ago already, and some people say we have to wait like another 5 years to see you current, because in our category people are really edgy. We just go push the limit.
Yeah, but that's very common in the fashion industry, right? You're pushing the limits at the fashion shows, in the trade or in the industry. You're talking about things, but until consumers, the average person like me, because I'm very average, Jade. So until the average person like me is actually wearing it or buying it as a gift, it's going to be many years, right? There's a cycle to this.
Yeah, so that's why we also have a small ring like this, which still has my DNA with the texture and fluid things. And you see, this don't pick any customer. This everyone can wear. I'm not trying to do the TV sales.
Jade, you also told me that in addition to your time in the United States and Taiwan and China, you've traveled to some other countries that have also served as inspiration for some of your work. Tell us a little bit about where else you've traveled and why it was inspirational for you.
Europe is amazing. Every time we do the show, we travel there. We spend a couple of days to see all the architectural. We go to museum to see all this inspirational from the century back and contemporary. It's just like really mind-blowing when you are there. The smell, everything, you have to feel them. And also went to Istanbul. It's very mind-blowing. Like, you will never see that if you've never been there.
Yeah, well, it's a mix of East and West in Istanbul, right? It's on the border between Europe and Asia.
Right. Actually, they have really good jewelry markets there too. Yeah.
It's a very popular travel destination for Taiwanese, though. A lot of people from Taiwan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but you also took inspiration from their jewelry.
Mostly more manufacture-wise, because like the cases I'm making, I have this made from Istanbul. I'm not doing a commercial for them, but this is my name printed on there, and it's easy to carry everywhere I'm trying to go, and it's presentable, and the price is actually reasonable, so I order a lot of them.
Speaking of prices, custom jewelry, is it something that is within the budget of a lot of people, or is it something that's only for those really wealthy people?
I think it's for everyone. It goes from, affordable price like $100.
$100 US dollars, not Taiwan dollars.
to $3,000. It depends, And I was very, very touched because my friend's fiance will ask me to custom make engagement ring or wedding ring for the fiance. So
what kind of notice did you need for that? So he came to you and said, Jade, I want to ask my girlfriend to marry me. I want an engagement ring. Did he give you like a timeline? He needed it like 2 months in the future?
I actually helped them out. Like my best friends, her fiance came to me like, I want to make this ring for her, and I said, but that's not enough. You have to go take her to a big place with a lot of like in a shopping mall, a lot of people, you have to propose to her right there. Yeah, it was good memory.
But you did produce the engagement ring.
Yes.
Yeah. So
everything.
So people in the audience, you could get a custom-made engagement ring from Chiu as well, right? You don't need to just go to the store and buy something that looks like what everyone else has, right? You could think about
something special.
Something unique.
That's really meaningful for me because they want me to be in their relationship. I think it's awesome.
And well, that's exactly what you were talking about before with the Jadalosophy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What about we mentioned before that it's an uncertain time. Every 12 years ago there was a recession. Now we have another recession and the virus. Does wearing jewelry make people happy in a time like this?
Yeah, I think it's more like the connection you wanted to, the bonds you wanted to have with another person. Like if you send these gifts to your best friends, they feel like, oh, this remind me of you. When I look at it, this meant so much to me.
So people could definitely get some happiness from not just wearing it, but giving it as a gift in times like this.
Yeah.
What about upcoming holidays? Is, for example, Chinese Valentine's Day, Qixi. Is that a holiday when people buy jewelry?
You can buy jewelry every day, but then, of course, holiday will be a good excuse.
And Christmas, towards the end of the year, is that a time when people buy a lot of jewelry?
Halloween.
Halloween, people buy jewelry for Halloween as well?
Yeah, my brand is famous of the Halloween jewelry.
Good for Halloween parties.
Yeah.
Eye masks and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about for the more boring kind of events like a birthday? What kind of jewelry do people like to either give or to receive nowadays? What's popular as a birthday gift?
The stone, the bigger the better.
Well, if you give it to a woman, right?
Yeah.
What about when women come to you and say, I want to buy some jewelry for my boyfriend or my husband? What kind of jewelry do you typically recommend as a gift for a man?
I do have the men's jewelry, like the ones you're wearing, and also like this is like my dad's favorite too.
It's a ring.
It's a ring.
And what's special about it?
It's very muscular. And it has a big stone with power. And the lucidity courses attract a lot of money and wealth. I think men likes power.
So it will bring good luck as well.
Yes.
Do you find that for men in Taiwan, especially, men like to wear this kind of jewelry, or is it more popular in China?
I think like a lot of fashion gay, they love my jewelry.
Why is that?
It's very like talking to you, like a statement pieces. So if you want to be the queen at the party, this buckle, the choice is who.
And speaking of that, what are some of the projects you're working on now? Some of the your website, online. What are some of the initiatives that you're busy with?
So I started to think about fashion, how it means to us, and then because fashion come to the place like needs to help, and also fashion needs to help the industry too. So I was thinking about if we can do more sustainable, like more practical design, sort of like the ring with can tell you in the medical or in the technology combined sort of designs. That's my next step, like the thing I'm working on.
And what about for selling your jewelry? What's the again, especially because of the virus situation, people can't travel. You're looking at more online sales, or you're still trying to work with retail partners in other cities? What's the short-term outlook?
I think definitely online is the thing you have to keep it going. But then, because I actually get the best feedback from the local events, like arts events. People like to talk to artists. They want to see who you are and why you make it, what's the story behind it. So that's actually helping a lot as a brand. And of course, when the event finish, they keep going to your sites and see how you're doing. So it has to go both all together.
And is there, we mentioned earlier, Madonna, Lady Gaga, any celebrities in the future that you know of are going to be wearing J. Chiu's jewelry?
I hope everyone.
And if everyone does want to learn more information, they could go to your website, right? JChiu.
Yes, jchiu.com. It's JADECHIU.com.
And if they wanted to have something made, custom made, they would need to meet you in person. Correct?
We can do Zoom.
So you actually do jewelry designed by Zoom as well?
Not yet, but then we start the conference like that, so it's possible. But with that custom jewelry, you really have to wear it and see how you feel about it.
And again, that is such a perfect way to close the program, because, as you just said, for custom jewelry, you have to see it, you have to feel it, you got to meet the designer, and that's what you call your Jadalosophy. J. Chiu, thank you so much for being on Residence Messenger program and bringing all this beautiful jewelry and letting me wear some of it during.
Yeah, too bad you don't get zooming to see it.
You've been listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station with Ross Darrell Feingold. Have a great weekend.